Welcome to this lesson on the topic of geometry. Lesson 1, Angles. In this lesson, you'll learn about the different types of angles and how to use geometric reasoning to solve for unknown angle quantities. By the end of this lesson, you'll be able to recall the 6 different categories for angles. You'll be able to recall that perpendicular lines meet at 90-degree angles. You'll be able to recall complementary angles sum to 90 degrees, supplementary angles sum to 180 degrees, angles around the point sum to 360 degrees. You'll be able to recall that vertically opposite angles are equal in size. You'll be able to identify situations involving complementary, supplementary, and vertically opposite relationships. And finally, you'll be able to solve for unknown angle quantities using angle proofs. Types of angles. An angle occurs when two lines intersect, also known as meet. The angle is the measure of how the lines meet. Angles are often measured in degrees. Over here we have what's called an acute angle. An acute angle is greater than 0 degrees but less than 90 degrees. Over here we have a right angle. A right angle is exactly 90 degrees. A right angle is represented with a box in the location where the angle occurs, so over here. Over here, what we have is what's called an obtuse angle. An obtuse angle is greater than 90 degrees but less than 180 degrees. Over here we have a straight line. A straight line is exactly 180 degrees. Over here we have what's called a reflex angle. A reflex angle is greater than 180 degrees but less than 360 degrees. And over here we have what's called a revolution. A revolution is exactly 360 degrees. Your turn. Categorize the angles shown below and state their potential numerical values. Remember to draw all of these diagrams into your book and you'll have to use a ruler for these ones. Pause the video now. When you're done, press play. Check your answers and make the corrections as per necessary. Checking your success. By this part of the video, you should be able to recall the 6 different categories of angles: the acute, obtuse, reflex, right angle, straight line, and revolution. If you don't remember these yet, then go back and rewatch the video and write down the questions. Moving on, perpendicular. Two lines are said to be perpendicular if they meet to form a right angle. Looking at the diagram, we have a horizontal line and it meets two vertical lines. The meeting of these two lines causes right angles. This relationship we see is called a perpendicular relationship. So whenever we have two lines that meet to form a right angle, we say they're perpendicular to one another. Your turn. Draw the diagram in your book and complete the sentence. Perpendicular lines are lines that. Pause the video now and press play when you're done. Perpendicular lines are lines that intersect at an angle of 90 degrees. Check your answer and make amendments if you need to. By this stage in the lesson, you should be able to recall that perpendicular lines meet at 90 degrees. Moving on, angles in relationships. Complementary angles occur when two or more angles sum to 90 degrees. This often occurs when a right angle is split into smaller angles. In the diagram over here, we can see that we have two angles, a 30 degrees and an x. These two form to make a complementary relationship. As a result, what we can state is that, solving for x, we can say x is equal to 90 degrees, take away 30 degrees, because the 30 and the x will form 90. So if we take away the 30 from the 90, then it reveals to us the value that x must be. To show this, we state that this is a complementary relationship, and then we can solve for x. In this case, we know that x is going to be 60 degrees. Now, when we're solving for geometric proofs, we must always show the calculations and state the reasoning. If we simply write x is equal to 60 degrees, then we haven't used geometric reasoning. Moving on. Supplementary angles. Supplementary angles occur when two or more angles sum to 180 degrees. This is shown on the diagram on the left here. We have two smaller angles, y and 30 degrees. Both of these sum to 180 degrees. This often occurs when two straight lines intersect. Say, for example, if we want to know the value of y, what we can do is we can use this relationship of summing to 180 degrees. We can say y is equal to 180 degrees take away 30 degrees. We state that this is a supplementary relationship, and then we can solve for y. In this case, for this to hold true, y must be 150 degrees. Next up, we have angles on a point. All angles around the point sum to 360 degrees. If we observe the diagram, we have three angles. We have 125, 175, and then a z. To understand the value of z, we use the relationship that it all has to sum to 360 degrees. To do this, we can write z is equal to 360 degrees minus the addition of 125 and 175. We state using geometric reasoning that this is revolution, or we can state that it is sum on a point. You just need to communicate that you know this relationship here. Solving for z, we discover that z must equal 60 degrees for this property to hold true. Your turn. For each of the diagrams shown below, draw the diagram in your book using a ruler. State the relationship below your diagram. Finally, determine the value of the unknown, in this case A, C, and B. Pause the video now. Check your answers, make amendments as per necessary. In summary, in this lesson we set out to learn about the different types of angles and how to use geometric reasoning to solve for unknown angle quantities. By now, you should be able to recall the 6 different categories for angles. You should be able to recall that perpendicular lines meet at a 90-degree angle. You should be able to recall that complementary angles sum to 90 degrees. You should be able to recall supplementary angles sum to 180 degrees. And you should be able to recall that angles around a point sum to 360. You should be able to identify situations involving complementary, supplementary, and vertically opposite relationships. And finally, you should be able to solve for unknown angles using angle proofs. If you're still unfamiliar with these, go back, rewatch the videos, and re-practice the questions until you're familiar with all of these success criteria here.